Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. The crazy lady from our first story should have been arrested just for wasting police officers' time. More after a short pause. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Phil's the Dexter of retail. Short-staffed at the moment, so we have people from other stores in for coverage. Today, a manager from a neighboring city joined me. "Say hi to the nice readers, Phil." Phil says hi. He pulls out his phone this morning and starts playing a video. Loud screaming fills the room. Figure he was just on World Star or something until I hear his voice on there saying that they weren't going to be doing business anymore and they'll wait for the police. So I have to ask, what's that? "Oh, some crazy lady from yesterday." No more explanation offered. After 15 years with the company, dude is jaded, and I have to pepper him with questions to get the insane full story. Of course, in his mind, this is just another day in the trenches. Phil's a madman. He looks and acts like everyone's favorite friendly third-grade teacher. But that only makes it more unsettling when you get to know him. There's ice in those veins. So here's the breakdown. Screaming lady rents a couple of large storage units for a few months and then one day complains that someone broke in and stole a brand new 26-inch TV. See, look, the mesh wire's all bent up at the top of the unit. The story is that someone climbed up on top of the storage unit, pried up the wire meshing, and stole her brand new, still in the box 26-inch TV. Did she have insurance on her storage unit? Nope. Well, Phil was willing to cover the loss anyway if he could find the theft occurring in the security footage, but she'd need to supply a receipt. Did she have a receipt for this brand new TV? Nope. So no deal. They yell at each other and she leaves. But like Grandma used to say, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. You got to admire the determination. She's back the next day. Oh my God, now both of her storage units were broken into, and this time it's a brand new 43-inch TV that's missing, along with a laundry list of Dale Earnhardt collectibles, a die-cast model, signed and framed poster, a leather jacket, a helmet, other stuff. She has a written list. Still no insurance, still no receipts. But this time it's different, because there's more stuff stolen than last time. So pay me. Phil gets concerned about the damage to the storage units and goes up there to check. Good news, nothing's damaged. Wait, nothing's damaged? In fact, nothing's been disturbed at all. There's a layer of dust on top that the cleaners are going to get crap for later, but for now it serves as proof of one thing. Nobody broke into these storage units. That lifted mesh from yesterday at the top of the first one must have been done from inside. Also, the thieves from yesterday apparently felt bad and returned the 26-inch TV. It's sitting in its box in the stairwell leading to her unit. No, I don't understand why, and neither does Phil. What was the thinking here? I'm pretty creative, but the reasons for this TV's reappearance in the hall transcend imagination. So Phil comes back to our waiting customer and says, "Can you offer any proof whatsoever that this stuff was in the unit?" "Well, if you check the security cameras," she says with a victorious smirk, "you won't see us leaving with any of it." "Will I see you coming in with it?" "Well, no, it was dark then." "Oh, the weather was dark inside when you brought in that stuff." Okay. It's at this point that the stupidity of what she's saying becomes clear even to her, and she tries to make up for it by screaming her head off. Phil calls the police, he gives them her name. "Oh, her? Is she trying an insurance scam?" "Kind of," says Phil, "except she forgot to pick up the insurance." "Sounds about right. On our way." And that's when Phil hit record on his phone just in case. Screaming continues as it dawns on her that not only are we not paying her for the phantom collectibles, but she's being evicted from the storage units for, well, screaming at Phil so damn much. And the police are on the way. And they'll know she's lying because apparently she has a history of this stuff. Don't know if jail time will be a factor here. I'll keep you posted. When he told me all this, though, Phil made it sound really boring. Even on the video, while he does raise his voice to be heard, he could have been explaining tax law regulation from the complete lack of passion. I shared this story with a few of my coworkers and got an earful of, "Oh, you have no idea" stories. Screaming scammers don't scare me. Phil does. Update. Just found out she wasted 3 hours of the police's time. Also, when they got there, she claimed that there were large sums of cash missing from the unit. Everyone called bullcrap on that. Lastly, when asked about the 26-inch TV box in the hall, she claimed that it was empty, always had been. And it was empty when she had it in her unit. So she was storing an empty box, according to her. Oh, my head. While the police didn't arrest her, they did tell her to quit it and get her crap out of there. I like Phil. At the beginning of the story, I thought he was going to be the bad guy. Nope, every workplace needs a Phil. And our second story, Crazy Larry. This happened to me last summer. I was in Chicago for the day with one of my good friends, and we were just wandering the city looking around at everything. We decided to do one of the riverboat tours from Navy Pier, and it took us upriver and dropped us off somewhere in the financial district, if I remember correctly. It was about 3 miles from where we parked earlier in the day. Being 21-year-olds and not willing to spend another $10 to just take the boat back to where we started, we decided to walk back. We're both fairly large males. I'm 6'6", about 195 pounds, and it was 3 or 4 p.m., so we weren't really worried about getting into too much trouble. Besides, we had Google Maps on our phone, so it really wasn't going to be that hard. We just had to walk a few miles. We start walking, and almost immediately I realize we're being followed by this older gentleman who I assumed was homeless, mostly from his appearance. He followed us for a few blocks, then when we were at a crosswalk waiting to cross, he approached us. He introduced himself as Larry. Immediately, he starts asking us personal questions and wants to know what we're doing and why we're in Chicago, etc., etc. We're friendly with him because, we have no reason not to be. Then he asks us where we were going. Not wanting to give him too much info, I told him the general area where we're parked, someplace near the Hilton in downtown. He says, "Great, you guys look a little lost. I'll show you the way." He kind of grabbed my friend's jacket and started pulling it, so I said, "What the hell?" And we started following Larry, mostly out of bemused curiosity. As we walk, he starts in on a sob story about losing his job, living on the streets, except when he can get $80 and he can buy a night in what I assumed was some sort of bootleg brothel from his description, and a creepy grin when he started talking about his fun roommates. Then he started to alternate about how all of his spare money went to his poor little toddler son. This guy was about 65. I hope he didn't really have a toddler. When we were near the Hilton, I figured it was a good time to take our leave of Larry. I thanked him and offered him the sole dollar I had in quarters from the parking meter earlier. He looked disgusted and asked if I had anything more substantial. I told him no, I was a college kid on a cheap trip and only had my credit card. He grabbed my jacket, smiling, and said, "Don't worry, bro, I'll take you to an ATM. You can get me out of 20. I stood there in disbelief for a second before I gathered my wits and said, "Sorry, I really can't afford that. Thanks all the same for the help in getting here." The next thing I know, Crazy Larry started screaming at me and getting everyone's attention around us how I'd robbed him and was trying to take advantage of him. I said thanks again and just walked away as he kept screaming. He could very well be there to this day. And our last story. Your garage belongs to the HOA. My wife and I recently bought a condo, and one of the major reasons that drew us to it was a 3-car garage. I'm in a wheelchair and have a chairlift on the back of my car, so it was especially important to have a garage big enough to accommodate a Subaru with a lift. By the way, this is a cloaking device to law enforcement. Police don't ever look in my general direction, no matter how fast I'm going or how dirty I'm riding. There's a platform built in the garage, and if I remove that, the car fits perfectly. Great. We put in an offer, write a check, and go to closing. Fast forward a few weeks of agonizing remodeling, and it's time to remove the platform when we notice a cabinet was hiding a valve and a pipe going into the platform. WTF is this? Turns out it's the line that feeds the garden hose outside. Okay, I'd rather have a functional garage than a garden hose. I turn off the water and get ready to rip it out when a neighbor stops in and informs me the line and hose is the HOA's and everyone gets to use it. Water's included in my HOA fees. The F it is, it's still coming out, and seeing as how the HOA's claiming ownership, they can now pay to remove it. So I call the property manager and explain what's going on and get it out. She understands and comes by to look so she can put in the proper work order. Cool. Well, she brings the HOA president. My wife's very calmly explaining the situation, and when she's done, he vomits, "I can tell you what you're not doing, and that's taking out this line. It's HOA property. This is an easement. You should have done your homework to learn it was." You don't tell my wife that she can't do something, especially when she knows damn well she can. Very politely, she says, "Please leave my garage." He won't budge. Instead, he's now claiming the entire garage is HOA property and he can be there. My wife goes into a full rage and yells, "Get the F out, you mother effing C-word," quite a few times. Eventually, he starts to back out when he sees the other neighbors have come out to see why there's a woman screaming, "Leave." She goes to close the garage door, but the president's now yelling, "HOA property, HOA property," and kicking his feet under the door trying to trip the sensor. Joke was on him, though. It's an old garage with no sensors. It's the kind that crushes toddlers that they made the sensor law for. Unfortunately, he wasn't crushed. But his exit was very toddler-esque. Anyway, his wife comes by a few minutes later, we met her earlier and hit it off, although we had no idea who she was, to apologize for her husband and not worry about the hose. Turns out only a few units have the hose. Property manager was saying the builder installed and everyone had one, including them. Tomorrow, I'm going to call the bank and the title agent and ask if there was an easement. I know there's not. No one has an easement in their house. That's ridiculous. Update. They have no easement, so they can go pound sand. Also check that the rules don't say anything about the HOA owning the garage. We're not changing anything outside the house. We're going to change it, and if they cry or go the fine route, slap them with a denying a disabled person ease of access letter from a lawyer. Dude's just having a power trip. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.